G'day everyone, welcome to another CSBP Fertilisers Market Update. I'm Johnston and joined as ever by our Sales Strategy and Reliability Manager, Ben Sudlow. Hello Ben.
Good morning, Gray.
Thanks for joining us. When we last caught up, you talked presciently about the impact that foreign exchange moves can have on the landed cost of ammonium phosphates in the WA market. Can you give us a bit of a rundown on what's happened in the last couple of weeks since that discussion?
Yeah, so when we last spoke, the US election had just happened. If you remember, the exchange rate went down and then it went up a cent, and look, since then, the exchange rate, I should say, has just dropped away. It's just drifted down 1.5 to 2 cents. And the reality of that becomes real, and as it always is with fertiliser, is the exchange rate is only relevant and the FOB price is only relevant on the day that you've got to suddenly start buying shipments. And look, the market now is probably, let's say half of the shipments have come in for phosphates, maybe half to come. And as those shipments now become real, the people we are buying and our competitors are buying, that exchange rate, should stay where it is, starts to really affect landed cost of price. Probably good for grain on the other side, but less so for fertiliser. And it just is clearly going through to increasing the landed cost for ammonium phosphates right now, and urea for that matter. Not that we're bringing a lot of urea in today.
Yeah, okay. So, but particularly relevant for ammonium phosphates, they are the product that are getting priced large, by and large in the West Australian market at the moment. And that if all things else are equal, we probably expect then to see ammonium phosphates pricing increase in the WA market.
That's quite right, Gray, without doubt. Again, look, the exchange rate might jump 2 cents, it might drop 2 cents in the next week, 2 weeks or a month, and that's going to have some impact further down the line. But as we see it, relative to what we looked at 2 weeks ago, there's definitely more pressure on the prices going up based on a falling exchange rate that we've seen in the last couple of weeks.
And then we haven't talked about potash for a while, but will the same effect flow through to the potash procurement? How we place the...
Same thing, Gray. There'll be clearly more to come in to supply that March, April, May, June demand. They'll come under the same effect of foreign exchange as anything else will. The most significant thing that's come out of potash in recent weeks has been the commentary come from the Belarusian president, Lukashenko. And just going back in history, Belarus got sanctioned out of exporting potash back in 2020 or early 2021. Based on the election result that was not seen as ratified by the rest of the world. Belarusian potash got sanctioned, and they produce or export around 15 to 20% of the global supply of potash. Potash previously used to go, Belarus is landlocked, used to go out through the Lithuanian port, and at the same time that happened, Lithuania said, you're not exporting through our country anymore, and they had to take alternative lines to port, which is going back through Russia. So they had fewer markets. Those markets then became those who didn't care about sanctions, mainly Brazil, China and so forth. But they're also more expensive to get to port. At that time, prices went up. Belarusians were previously exporting 10 or 11 million tonnes of potash. I think it got slightly higher than that in 2021. And with the difficulty getting to port and the sanctions, they went down to 4.5 million tonnes. Subsequently, they've found different ways to market and their volume has now increased again. They're back up at 10 million tonnes. Now, Lukashenko, the president, has said in recent weeks that Belarus may seek to cooperate with Russia now and cut potash production to support spot prices, which have slumped to their lowest level. Now, he's quoted as saying, we have the lowest potash prices for potash fertilisers on my watch. Recognising his watch goes back to the early 1990s, maybe we should talk to Russia, consult and slash the production of potash fertiliser by 10 or maybe 11%. Lukashenko said in comments reported by their state-run media, it is unlikely it will create a deficit, but everyone may have to realise that's an expensive product and you may need to pay an adequate price for it. And ultimately, they may be getting back to the point where they're getting close to their production capacity and their cost of production's going up or their access to port's going up because they've now got to ship it further. And if you're hitting your volume cap, well, the next lever is price. So there's definitely a warning sign that perhaps there's some enthusiasm on Belarus, who were otherwise leading the bottom price down, to try and edge it back up. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, of course, but that's probably the first sign we've seen some sort of vocal means from either Belarus or Russia, who are both sanctioned, to try and push prices up into the marketplace.
Okay, a good exposition there of some of the geopolitical dynamic happening in the potash market. And Mr. Lukashenko, if you're watching, please note that CSBP does not condone that type of global cartel behaviour. So for the benefit of all, we suggest you keep the potash flowing into the markets.
Quite.
We've talked phosphates, we've talked potash. Nitrogen, I guess, is the third of our favourite nutrients. You mentioned before there's not a huge amount happening on urea at the moment. We might talk about supply, but firstly, is there any update on global pricing?
Yeah, so there was I think we simply last spoke about, there was an Indian tender came out, about 1 million tonnes was taken up in the tender, which was supposed to be for product delivered through to 25th of December. There was very little reaction to price. Prices just drifted down. Probably going back to our comments earlier, the net effect of the exchange rate and the urea price drifting down means urea prices are probably only fractionally lower than what they might have been a couple of weeks ago on a net basis today.
And then in terms of gearing up for the season to come, we know there was big issues in the West Australian market last year with people getting access to granular nitrogen in particular and port congestion.
Yeah.
Are we expecting to see more of the same this year?
Ports from mid-December through to mid-January already look really busy, and again, it's not just fertiliser. There's a lot of fertiliser coming through that period, and of course everything else that we challenge through in the Kwinana port here. We're now planning our urea shipments. On current view, we'll have somewhere between 6 or 8 shipments through February to May, and that'll start to sort of underpin that big volume that will go into that post-application market, which we saw was a bit challenged to get in last year. The real benefit of buying a number of ships is that we can get it in to meet our supply reliability, but we also get it in and we can get the average of a lot of ships over a much greater window of time.
So Ben, you said CSBP's procurement planning and readiness for that urea import season is sort of well in train and well underway, and as you said, we're planning those ships. We had a good outcome for CSBP customers in terms of supply reliability on their granular urea last year. So if there are farmers out there who are concerned about supply reliability and that port congestion becoming a factor in the urea season this year and are looking to get a fair price of an average of those, say, 6 to 8 ships that CSBP may be procuring over that window, please contact your local CSBP account manager. We have a urea pool offer in the market available that enables farmers to get the average price based on the average cost of the ships purchased between that February and May window. So that will ensure you get a good combination of supply reliability and a fair price over that window. So certainly an option for those farmers looking to secure supply now. We also have Flexion available for those farmers who may be looking to secure their seeding and perhaps even first top up nitrogen too.
Yeah, well, I mean, the opportunity now is we're just moving from that pre-fill market to secure volume for the sort of first post-seeding fill-up, which really happens in sort of April and May as the tanks start emptying and seeding, and we look at refill, and we're just starting to get some tonnes available to roll into that period as well, Gray.
Yeah, so look, good opportunities there, I think, for customers interested in all the different phases of nitrogen to be able to secure supply with CSBP at the moment. Ben, we've been through phosphates, potash, nitrogen. Anything else we need to add before we sign off?
We've got to save something for a couple of weeks' time, Gray.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Ben, for joining us for another market update, and thank you all out there in Fertiliser World. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
This podcast is provided as general information only. The content of this podcast is not a recommendation and has been prepared without taking your objectives or circumstances into account. Before acting on the content of this, you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances and seek independent advice.